Hi, True Avatars, and welcome to your weekly queer video game podcast. This is episode 32, and I am your host, Zoe Wild. I am a transgender and bisexual woman, and my pronouns are she, her. This week is going to be quite packed since I skipped a lot of news in last week's episode, which I really shouldn't have done, but I didn't want to talk about Switch 2 and news, so anyway. We have a major shakeup at Discord with their CEO changing, GTA 6 has been delayed, and Ghost of Tsushima has a release date. But what do these things have to do with the Xbox price increases? Plus, Borderlands 4 had a state of play, and Oblivion Remastered was shadow dropped. As usual, we'll start with what we've been playing, cover the headlines, and then jump into this week's topic. Queer games we'd like to see adapted to film and television. And then finally, at the end of the show, Queer Game of the Week. Joining me for this roller coaster of an episode is Ekamy. Ekamy is a pansexual woman whose pronouns are she, her. Ekamy can be found on Twitch streaming games, cooking, and book club. How are you, Ekamy?
Doing good. Thanks for having me.
And also joining us is Lloydster. Lloyd is a trans man who streams a wide variety of games on Twitch. Lloyd's pronouns are he, him. How have you been, Lloyd?
Hello, good morning. I've been great. Better that I'm here now.
Yay. Well, with everything going on in the world, at least we have our little 90 minutes here of escapism, so...
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Before we jump into things, though, I have a few quick favors to ask of everyone. If you like this podcast, please consider leaving a comment or review on your preferred podcast platform. Leaving feedback not only helps with visibility, but it helps me know what you like and don't like about the podcast, so I can improve it as I find my footing. Also, please follow True Avatars, a queer video game podcast, on social media. There are accounts on Blue Sky, Instagram, Twitter, Threads, Facebook, and YouTube at True Avatars. We also have a TikTok, but I haven't added literally anything to it except the icon. And you can also find the podcast on the official website, trueavatarspodcast.com, all one word. And remember, this is a weekly queer video game podcast, so check in every week. I aim to bring you news, interviews, and up-to-date discussions that are relevant to queer gamers, so you have a safe space to check in on the world of gaming from a 2S LGBTQIA+ lens. All right, what have you both been playing? Ekamy, do you want to start?
Sure. So the game that I'm most often playing lately is Neo: The World Ends With You. It's the sort of sequel to The World Ends With You, which was originally on DS. I think it came out maybe like 2009. This one was more like 2021, 2022. I've been streaming that one and really enjoying it. And I think I might be maybe halfway through. Yeah, so having a good time there. And the other game that I've been playing...
Before we go on from that, I just want to ask, how does it compare to the original? Because I've heard mixed things about whether it's like good or bad compared to the original.
I think it feels very close to like the vibe of the original. Like I'm right now enjoying it basically as much as I enjoyed the original. The difference in combat is kind of nice compared to the first game, because the first game's combat was more like it was DS, so you use your stylus to like the touchscreen to like swipe and all that with all your different pins and their abilities, and in this game it is you're still using pins to attack, like they all have different powers, like throwing a fireball or shooting an electric bolt or something, but in this case you are on like you're kind of fighting as multiple people on a team, and you can use your pins at the same time, but they're all button based. So like if I want to, I don't know, send a rapid tap, use a rapid tap pin to do a rapid attack, and also use another pin that'll be like a press and hold and then release. I can do that at the same time because it's just different button prompts for that. And it probably looks a little chaotic on stream, like when you're watching, but like it's just so much nicer and easier because like, I don't know, it felt really chaotic when I was just really like flailing around with the stylus and trying to, use two characters at the same time. And
you can't see it because it's a audio only podcast, but Ekamy was just kind of flailing around like
with my hands,
touchscreen motions with her hands.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, it's really nice. And the fun thing too about this one is that there are characters that are from the first game that return in this one too. I won't spoil who, but it's nice to see them and also create some interesting questions that arose because you're like, why are you here? I know what happened with you in the first game. And the second one that I'm playing is called Still Joking. This is a game that I came across, I learned about it on a request the Steam key kind of website, and then like promote it if you'd like to stream it. So I did stream it once. And off stream I've just been playing it just like in my spare time, but it's basically a point and click kind of mystery visual novel with like some romantic dating sim elements, but that's not the main focus. And you're playing as the reflection of an actress who has been like stabbed by someone. Like the game starts off with her being like stabbed with a knife in her dressing room, and you don't really like, you do see her kill her, but you don't know who he is or anything. So when she dies, you awake back in the world of reflections, and you as a reflection then become like your own kind of person. And that happens when anyone's like real-time person dies. The reflection just kind of gains their own autonomy and everything. So you're trying to figure out information about who killed her, and at the same time also learning about this cool new like autonomy that you have, and you meet a group of like really interesting and colorful characters. It's really interesting. The story really drew me in, so I've been having fun with that one.
That's really, I've never heard of that one, actually. I'm gonna have to look into that because that sounds really cool.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, with that second one, every sentence I had no idea where it was going next, but I like wrote it down. I was like, I need to look into this.
Yeah, it's good.
Lloyd, would you like to go next?
Yeah, so I have been playing South of Midnight, actually.
Yes, I've been interested in this one, but
that one looks really
haven't
good.
had time to get to it.
I recommend it. I recommend it highly. I didn't know anything going into it. I tend to like to approach games like that. But almost immediately you get hit with just how the world has a weight to it. Like, it just has this weight to it. The music, the composition, the character design, the world design, the lore that they put into it, it has a weight to it that I haven't felt in a while with a game. And the only thing I knew going into it was that there was some like discourse about, you know, the stop motion sort of like claymation style had some touch and go reception. That might be the right word. And I was like, okay, well, I know this much, but now being at least 10 hours into the game, I absolutely love it. It's really gorgeous. You can see like little fingerprints in some of the characters' like faces, and I love that. I wish they did a little bit more of like those little imperfections, but I love that. And then
is it disorienting? Sorry to cut you off. I'm just curious because like when I was watching the marketing for this game, I thought the stop motion looked really cool, but the character kind of moves in 60, but the stop motion is like 20. Or like at least that's how I remember seeing it in the trailer, and I wasn't sure if that was just like anyway. So I guess I'm just curious, like, is it jarring or disorienting? Does it give you motion sickness or anything like that?
No, and I hesitate to answer that because this game has a ton of accessibility settings in it, which I love, which is wonderful. And one of the first things I do whenever I boot up a game is look to see if it has to remove motion blur, to remove like all of the there's a couple of things for like range of view that I like to turn off too. So I did a lot of little adjustments to settings, so I don't know if I can speak to if that there is one option on accessibility where you can turn off the stop motion. It doesn't. It doesn't re-render the cutscenes or anything. But I didn't turn it off. And I haven't noticed any issues. But
okay,
cool.
Yeah, just the accessibility settings are wonderful, and they have so many different options. Not only just in the gameplay itself, like you can change how hard the combat is, what aspects of combat are harder or easier. Game has like 3 or 4 different difficulty settings. You can change how the quest icons look, how just so much, and I actually haven't seen this many options in a game.
That's so cool.
Yeah, I recommend it. I recommend it to anyone who's interested. It's got a lot of like deep south, like in America, so like southern folklore. And like it touches on, I'm not getting any spoilers, but it touches on like different like you don't get a lot of black stories in gaming, like very like authentically like black stories. And it's the name's escaping me, but one of the main creators is a part of this. He was, I don't know if he was a voice actor. It's really escaping me, but like the musicians he got together, like the artists he got together, you could just feel it. You can feel it, and the stories and the characters and their interpersonal relationships. I love it, and I want more of it.
Yeah, that's awesome. Are you playing it on Game Pass?
Yes, yep.
Okay.
It was on Xbox PC Game Pass. That's how I got it. Mm-hmm.
Awesome. And sorry, I did cut you off earlier. I wasn't sure if you're going to jump into a different game to talk about that you've been playing, or if it was just South of Midnight. But I cut you off earlier, and I'm sorry for that.
No, you're good. I'm always playing stuff, but I think that's a good one to touch on. I know we got a lot of stuff, and I'm excited to get to it.
Okay. Well, I'll race through mine really quickly, just because I mostly don't want to give out too many spoilers for. In a previous episode, I said I was going to play Doki Doki Literature Club Plus, and I did. And I did tweet this, or at least I skeeted whatever on Blue Sky. I just posted a picture of the game's icon, and I just wrote, "What the fuck?" Because it is, and I'm not going to spoil the game. I don't know if I'm going to say I recommend it, because I do think outside of being a criticism of anime games and just the kind of games where you play for the male gaze almost. It was critical of that, but I don't think it was critical enough. And I will say that if you're trans, and especially trans femme, and your pronouns are she, her, and you're playing this game, it's going to be disorienting, because at the start of the game, they ask for your name. They don't tell you what gender your character is at all. And I didn't know much going into this game. So I wrote Zoe. And then 5 minutes in, I realized they were he-himing me. And I was like, oh shit, I'm going to play as a character who's not me. That way, at least they're not saying Zoe, he, him. I get enough of that shit in real life. I don't need this shit in my video games. But apparently, there's no way, until you finish the game, you cannot change anything. The game is almost aware of what you're trying to manipulate out of it. Even if deleting the game and reinstalling it on any system, there's no way to change your name unless you start a brand new, save after you've completed the story. So there is a point later in the game where, I won't spoil too much, but they kind of acknowledge that they're not sure who's playing the game. And that might be a slight spoiler, and I'm sorry, but this is the only part, because it's a queer podcast, I wanted to touch on this. But even after they kind of acknowledge that they don't know who's playing the game, they still he, him you. So there's no pronoun options or anything like that. It's not because at first, in that first 4 minutes before that 5th minute where they he, himmed me, I'm like, oh cool, they're playing it it's player sexual. I could be friends with these girls, or I could be trying to date them, whatever. And then no, it's you're playing as a dude. So keep that in mind. If you're going to play, and you don't want your true name he, himmed or anything like that, maybe pretend to play as a random dude character, and you're playing as an avatar and not yourself so much. But I also went through, I had time this week since there was no work. I thought it'd be really cool to have, one of my favorite film series is Back to the Future. And one of the first games I ever played when I finally got into the PlayStation ecosystem was the Back to the Future Telltale game. So I realized I was 15 out of 60 trophies away from the platinum. And I was like, it couldn't be that hard to go in and get the platinum. And it took me, I basically had to replay the whole game to get the platinum, but I went and got it. I thought it'd be cool to have the platinum trophy. I picked up Breakout Beyond, which is, for anyone who doesn't know, I'm sure everyone's seen Breakout, but they might not know it's called this. It's that game where it's like Pong, where you have you're hitting a ball against a bunch of bricks, and every time you hit a brick, it breaks. You're trying to get the ball past all the bricks to get out. Well, they kind of did a Tetris Effect style version of this game where it's flashier and stylized, and the sound effects are really cool, and it's got HD rumble. I've been playing that on Switch. It's super fun and addictive. And I also went and saw, because we're going to be talking about adaptations later, I went and saw Until Dawn. And I won't spoil too much, but people, I know you both had questions before. Is it like the game? Is it not like the game? Going into it, you think it's not going to be like the game, and I accepted that. I accepted the whole Groundhog Day aspect of the story. But at a certain point, they kind of abandon that, and then it just becomes exactly like the game. And I won't spoil it, but it's too much like the game. Whereas if you want a true sequel to Until Dawn, a follow-up in that kind of set style and just vibe, play The Quarry, because The Quarry feels more like a true sequel, where it's an anthology series, but similar themes. Whereas this is, it's not a remake or a sequel to the game. It's just, I don't want to spoil too much, but it's a rehash, and not in the fun way where they just adapted the story from the game. It's just anyway, I won't say too much else, but I also finally went back and watched the Tetris movie that's been on Apple Plus or whatever for the last 3 years, or maybe 2 years. Anyway, it came out in 2023. It's not based on the game. It's based on the creation of the game and how Nintendo got it on the Game Boy. And it's action packed. It's not historically accurate at all. It's there's chases, there's KGB spies and all this stuff, which never happened. Video Game Historian has a much better 2-hour movie on YouTube that you can watch for the true story. But if you want something action packed and seeing actual Nintendo people adapted for the screen, which there's never been a Nintendo biopic, it's kind of really cool seeing some of the people from the 80s who worked at Nintendo. Not Miyamoto, but everyone else is in it, which is super cool. So anyway, yes, that's what I've been playing and watching.
Oh my gosh. Just like a Doki Doki thing. No spoilers, of course, but if anyone has any things that they worry about for content warnings, I would highly recommend looking
Yes.
them up ahead of time.
Yes.
And the game does prompt you at the start. It's like it gives you an option to look at the content warning. And if you want to be surprised, but there's going to be anything that might shock you, I recommend looking at it, even if it's a spoiler, because they're like, hey, it's a spoiler, but anyway. Sorry.
Quick caveat for that. That might be unique to the Club Plus version because
I
the
think
original
so.
Okay.
The original
does
didn't,
not.
I think. Yeah.
Okay.
No.
I also did read online that the original is the better game over Plus.
Really?
Yeah.
I'm gonna try to find the right words for this. Back when the original game was the only one, the online community around it was very gatekeepy about the content warnings for very aggressive, not very positive reasons. Because it would ruin the story, XYZ. So I'm wondering if my first thought when I hear that the new one is not as good as the old one, it might be something like nestled in that
Okay.
that like authenticity, heavy quotes, experience. But yeah.
Interesting.
But yeah, and about the movie, I was, again, audio podcast, but I was making faces when you were like, yeah, and it gets right back to the movie, it gets right back to the game for Until Dawn, and I was like, how? I like, obviously no spoilers, but what I've seen from any of the trailers, it looks like a completely different thing. And
Even while I was watching the movie, I was like, what the fuck is happening right now?
So interesting. I don't know.
Like, if you want something different from the game, but like with that Groundhog Day style, like kind of like Happy Death Day, because at first I thought it was just going to be an Until Dawn version of Happy Death Day. And yeah, for the first half, sure. And then the movie does a 180, and then just like, it's like, okay, I'll put it this way. When I was watching the RoboCop remake from about 11 years ago, the first half of that remake is very different from the original. Like, it goes it talks very much about the human aspect. It's not this like very procedural, like, here's the beats we need to hit to get so we can underscore how fucked up society is. It's a very human version of the original RoboCop in this remake. And then I was like, okay, it's different. I'm not sure if I like it, but by the time it got rolling, I was like, this is really cool. And at a certain point in the remake, they stop writing a brand new script, and they literally, like, beat for beat becomes the original movie's script for the second half. And that's where I was like, oh, they just abandoned all these thematic ideas and they went back to the original. It's almost like the screenwriter had no time to finish the script they were working on. And they were like, okay, let's just grab the last 60 pages from the original script and tack that on with a stapler, and we'll film that as the movie. That's what Until Dawn kind of, it's not exact, but that's the vibe I was getting from this adaptation. To the point where I was like, I don't know why they made this.
wow.
Yeah.
Other than to make money off it. Like, obviously that's the goal for all these things, but like, generally the creatives on it are trying to put something in there for people to enjoy, while the businessmen are behind it going like, yeah, we want the money from this. Whereas if even like, and the director who did Until Dawn, he did the original Shazam. I think he did the second one as well. I never saw it, but he also did Annabelle Creation, and of all the Conjuring series movies, Annabelle Creation is the best one.
Oh.
It's a period piece. It's about the origin of this scary doll, and if you're into horror movies or you're into doll stuff, like, this is like cream of the crop. Like if you grew up watching Goosebumps and you liked those not Chucky, what's Slappy from Goosebumps. If you as a kid you grew up with those, because that's why I like scary doll stories, because I saw Slappy when I was a kid, and I was like, that's cool. So anyway, if you want more of that but for adults, like, Annabelle Creation is terrifying.
Okay.
And so I thought this director could bring something to the table to Until Dawn that the franchise needs.
He did for the first half.
Yeah. So
Interesting.
shall we jump into the news?
Yeah.
Yes.
So we've got a bunch of headlines here, but let's start off with this really juicy one, because everyone else seems to be worried about what this means. But The Verge, this comes from The Verge. Discord's co-founder and CEO Jason Citron is stepping down. Again, this news probably seems innocuous to non-gamers, but I've seen a lot of speculation online that this is bad news. And given that many gamers and the queer community in general uses Discord a lot, I thought this was pretty relevant, and so would be the speculation, because like, we really just have like what The Verge wrote here. So Discord co-founder and CEO Jason Citron is stepping down and will be replaced by former Activision Blizzard and King exec Humam Saknini, according to a press release. I'm not sure if I pronounced that correctly, and I'm sorry if I didn't. Saknini takes over on April 28th. Citron will stay on the board of directors and serve as an advisor to the CEO. Quote, as we enter our next phase, I've been reflecting on how I can best contribute to Discord's long-term success, Citron says, in a message shared with employees and posted to Discord's website. The job of a CEO is constantly evolving, and over the years, I have continuously hired myself out of a job. Usually that means delegating work and then taking on different leadership challenges. However, as I look at what is needed of Discord's CEO over the next few years, I realize it's time for me to literally hire myself out of a job. The leadership shift is happening as Discord is reportedly exploring an IPO. In an interview with GamesBeat, Citron said that Discord didn't have plans to announce about potentially going public, but noted, as you can imagine, hiring someone like Humam is a step in that direction. End quote. So that's the article, at least the parts I took out of it that I thought were relevant. So obviously Discord could change under new leadership, but given that I'm a bad queer, I don't really like Discord all that much. I prefer Slack, actually, as weird as that sounds, but nobody uses Slack outside of work. But I thought I'd get both your takes on this. Don't everybody speak at once.
I figured I took the help of before, so I was like, I'll give Amy a second, and then here I am talking over Amy. You got it.
To be honest, I haven't heard too much about or I should say too many positive things about Blizzard in general. So I mean, this news coming out, I was like, oh, okay, purely based on just things I've heard about the companies, I'm like, I don't know how this could go. My initial feeling was not great, I would say. But at the same time, I know Discord itself has also been going a little bit more in your face about hey, you want Discord Pro, right? You should, a pop-up will come up, and I'm just I don't care, no. And there's little things here and there that I'm just not as big on about Discord. I still prefer it over other video and voice chat platforms, and I definitely use it for a good portion, a good part of my streaming. Even if I'm not co-streaming with people, I use Discord and just have myself up in a room to and then it'll my little PNG tuber will react based on my mic levels. But yeah, I just I don't know. I feel I guess we'll see what happens, but I don't feel good about it.
Yeah, that's the issue too, is that Discord doesn't have a comparable challenger or competitor, that's the word, especially in the gaming space. And when you were talking about that reactive PNG, I use Discord reactive images, and I sometimes have to sit in a call by myself to make sure that the overlay and everything interacts with my stream. And there's just not another program that does everything that Discord does at the moment, and I'm really rallying for them because, just like you said, the last couple of years they've kind of been a little slow at first to Discord Nitro, Discord Premium, and then as time passed, both were being tied to more and more functionality in Discord.
Yeah.
And to the point that you can't, stream the highest resolution in your own Discord calls and servers. You can boost servers. I don't know if you can anymore. I haven't really been paying attention. If you pay, and now they've got ads everywhere. They've got sponsored quests. There's quests in Discord, and it's just
special avatar.
Absolutely, an avatar, a limited edition avatar that goes away in a month or two.
Oh, so it's so silly, so silly.
And I'm always worried about data security. As time has passed, and especially with the US and everything, as time has passed, there's already been questions about that, and especially since Discord has been starting to get more and more very obviously into the money part. Seeing Activision Blizzard kind of take a stab at it. There's no obvious plans, publicized plans yet, but basic pattern recognition makes me nervous. Yeah.
Yeah. Are we thinking? I know I said not too many politics, but are we thinking there's a risk of like Twitter? What happened with Twitter, where there could be a right wingification? And I just made that word up, but
no, and all data can be weaponized, and at any time, and just like you said, what we've seen with Twitter, Musk has done so many bad things with it, but one of the big things that's very chilling is he'll take screenshots of folks' private messages and post them if it's something that he wants to attack them for. So it's just, the internet is not a vacuum. Whoever, I know a lot of folks who are moving to more secure messaging platforms, and to think that Discord might not be one of them is, and some of us have had all of our adult lives on it, sometimes even longer. So to think about your entire life kind of chronicalized like that is, and you know, you just want to play games. You just want to play games, talk to your friends around the world. But yeah, that's come to mind for me too.
All right, well, let's move on to some quick headlines here. I'm just gonna kind of go through these, and if anyone wants to jump in, just like jump in, like cut me off, like don't feel too much pressure one way or the other. But so a couple of these we're gonna come back to, but Ghost of Yote's release date has been announced, which is exciting because we know that Erika Ishii is in the lead role, and Erika Ishii is a gender fluid actor who uses all pronouns. So it's really cool that even though they're playing a cishet, you know, not queer at all character in the game, that they're giving a gender fluid person such a prominent role, a character who's like on the box art, is a pretty big deal. Anyway, so I said there's a release date. I haven't said what the release date is. It's October 2nd this fall. It's a Thursday, I'm pretty sure. And I'm not sure if they launched a new trailer with it or anything like that, but we did get pre-orders, and we're going to come back to pre-orders because we're going to talk about the price for this game. And the next headline also is another, we're going to tie that in, I brought up at the beginning of the show, but GTA 6 has been delayed, but it also now has an official release date. So before it was just like nebulously like sometime this fall, and you could tell like Nintendo, Xbox, Sony, third-party devs, indie devs, no one's dated anything for this fall. Like it's all kind of up in the air because everyone's like, when is GTA 6 coming out? No one wants to be destroyed by GTA 6's release date because everyone else in the world is going to be playing it and not their games. Anyway, so they've delayed it. It's coming out next spring. It has a specific release date of May 26, 2026. But yeah, so basically my point about this news right now, we're going to come back to this about price, but in terms of just release dates in general, I think we're going to start seeing a flood in the next month or two, especially around not E3 time, of video game release dates being announced and confirmed, and none of this like up in the air stuff, because now that window of late September to like early November when it could have released is now wide open. Moving on though, we're going to come back to that story again, as I said, but Sonic Shadow Generations is also a Switch 2 launch title. So this was kind of not in the Switch 2 Direct, but this was quietly announced by Sega very recently. But the Sonic Generations remaster from last year is getting a Switch 2 version with visuals that will more closely match PS5 and Xbox Series versions. We also know that there's going to be no upgrade path for this game. So if you own it on Switch 1 and you want to upgrade like I do, there is no way to do that without buying the full game again. And also we've learned that it is a game key card on physically, I think. So I have to confirm that, but I'm pretty sure if it's getting a physical, I think I saw that it's a game key card, which means the cartridge has nothing on it other than the license. So you still have to download the whole game, which means it's better than a code in a box. So you can actually share the cartridge with friends, but also it means that one day when the server shut down, that cartridge is useless.
Interesting. Are multiple Switch 2 games doing that, or? Oh,
pretty much most third parties, with the exception of Marvelous Games, who do Demon X Machina. So a few of those games are getting proper cartridges, and we know that Cyberpunk is going to also fit onto a cartridge. But everything else, including the 3 gigabyte game that is Bravely Default Remake or Remaster, that's a game key card.
Wow.
I don't think Final Fantasy has been confirmed one way or the other yet, but I imagine it's such a big game that it's going to be Final Fantasy VII Remake is going to be a game key card. But yeah, it's like, and then also Nintendo games. Most of those Nintendo first-party games are also on cartridge. We don't know about, it's been kind of back and forth whether or not like Breath of the Wild 4K or Tears of the Kingdom 4K or Kirby, all those Switch 2 upgrade versions. We don't know if it's a Switch 1 cartridge in the box with a code for an upgrade, because the text on the bottom of the box is kind of vague. And Nintendo actually hasn't confirmed. Nintendo UK said it's all on the cartridge. But other Nintendo representatives have either not answered or have said things like, we don't know. So
interesting. It's interesting you bring this up too, because I like just updated my Switch the other day, and the I don't know when the update came, but now you can see the whole interface looks very much like what they've advertised Switch 2 to be for like the virtual game cards and all of that. Like you can see all that. So that kind of prompted me to ask this, because I was like, oh yeah, I kind of want to chat about this. Interesting.
Yeah, I think that's a really cool accessibility feature. Just like being able to share virtual cards, but then there's other things, there's other loopholes they closed for other ways of sharing games with this new system. So there's like a whole mixed bag about this, about how this is. This is a game series that I'm not really too familiar with, but I know a lot of people love this series and they love this universe. But FBC Firebreak has a June 17th release date. I didn't even know this game was coming, but it's basically a multiplayer PvE game set in the same universe as Alan Wake and Control. So it comes from Remedy. And from the IGN page that I found, the summary is as follows. FBC Firebreak is a session-based multiplayer PvE experience set within the Control universe. It features replayable missions known as jobs, each with different challenges, objectives, and environments that require teamwork and adaptability. So I did see that it's coming to PC, and it's on Epic and Steam. So I think Alan Wake 2 launched on Epic only before coming to Steam. I don't actually know if Alan Wake 2 made it to Steam. PS5 and Xbox Series, as well as Game Pass and PlayStation Plus catalog. You'll need the higher tiers of PS Plus to get access to the game. So if you have Essential, which is the original way PS Plus worked, the most basic version, you can't access this game. And it's releasing June 17th, as I said, with no Switch 2 release date announced or even hinted at. So
that's cool. I hadn't heard of this game. And I really enjoyed Alan Wake, the first game. I haven't played 2 or Control, but I want to. I'm usually not one to play these types of games, usually, just from like the description you gave. But with how much I genuinely like enjoyed Alan Wake, I might give it a shot. That sounds kind of cool.
Yeah, I like that these games are all kind of interconnected. Also, sorry, it looks like I cut Lloyd off. I'm so sorry.
No, you're good. Yeah, and I had to look up the game because I was like, I don't remember this at all. But seeing some of the stills from it, I'm always in for another new multiplayer, 3 to however many person lobby it's gonna be. It's giving me, it probably has a lot more lore, a lot more like focus in a world, but it's reminding me of like either Back for Blood or Warhammer, the Fire Team, Deep Tide, Dark Tide. So it's kind of reminding me of like that, like wave based, like you going into a mission, kill a bunch of stuff, get from one place to the other, maybe have some objectives. So that's pretty cool. And I wouldn't have thought that, in the Alan Wake Control universe, that this would be the type of title that they'd release next. But that's interesting.
Yeah, I'm a single player girl myself. I don't really like a lot of multiplayer games, but I can always kind of smell when a game is going to be dead on arrival. Oh, Ekamy is just moving her cat out of the way, who just climbed up on her desk. So I was just about to say hi, Bo, but then I realized nobody listening to this podcast is going to have any idea what I'm talking about.
I turned off my mic, so I was just like, all right, we're just going to do that and hoist this cat over there.
Picture Toothless from How to Train Your Dragon being lifted off a desk, but Toothless is very small.
Yes.
But anyway, so as I was saying, I could kind of smell that Control, like I had this sense that Control was going to be dead on arrival. Same with that other one, that Splatoon clone that Square Enix released. I forget what it was called, but they had like kind of a similar Splatoon-esque game. So anyway, looking at FBC Firebreak, I actually can't tell whether it's going to do well, because I think like another multiplayer game that's meant to like take your time away from like your Fortnites and stuff like that. It looks like it could be dead on arrival, because like I don't know how many people are going to play this, but also being set in the Control universe might be enough to draw people in. So I don't know where I sit on that one, but like, yeah, what was it? Did I call it Control? Maybe I said Control.
I was actually okay. I actually just looked it up, and I was gonna gently be like, maybe did you mean Concord?
I meant Concord. Yeah, sorry.
You got it though. You got it.
I was like, the characters in Concord seem cool. I don't care about the gameplay. And then, of course, like, 700 people bought the game, and even less played it, or something like that. So, anyway.
You said Control so confidently. I went through all of the stages of, I don't know if grief's the right word, but I was like, maybe that's what she meant. And then I'm looking at it, and I'm like, no, the Control's in this universe. Maybe she didn't. And then I Googled it. I went on a whole journey while you were doing that.
We have one more quick headline, though. Classic PlayStation themes have returned to PS5, and they're here to stay. So back in December, you might remember when the 30th anniversary of PlayStation was going off kind of big with like the controllers and all the merch, and then they added PS1, PS2, PS3, and PS4 styled aesthetics and sound effects to your PS5, and the PS5 itself would boot up with a 30th anniversary PS1 sound, which was cool. They didn't bring back that launch screen with the splash screen with the sound effect, but now if you want to, like for example, I have the PS4 theme set, so it adds a little PS4 style wavy border to the top of the screen, and then otherwise it looks the same, and then all the sound effects when you press any button, sounds like PS4 instead of PS5, which is nostalgic for me because even though the PS4 isn't that old, the PS4 was my first console. So if you have a PlayStation, I highly recommend going back to these themes because if people start using them, I think it gives a nice gateway drug for them actually introducing other themes. Because the one thing that I miss on Switch, I miss on PlayStation is the removal of themes. So I know that every icon on a PS5 is supposed to be its own quote unquote theme with like music and a background, but then you switch to a different icon and it changes everything. But it is cool to like, you don't have to change the music, but the sound effects could be cool. Anyway, I'm rambling now.
No, I really loved when they did that for the anniversary, and I think at PlayStation 2 or 1, I was toggling back and forth between, and just hearing those boot up noises, it just like brought me back decades. And it was lovely. It was lovely.
It's like that meme where and it's also from a movie, but it's that shot of Matt Damon becoming really old in Saving Private Ryan, where he ages really quickly. That's how I feel when I first booted that up and heard those sounds.
For me, it was therapeutic. It like took off all of the built up gunk and pain of life, and I was like, I'm a child again.
Okay, so that's it for quick headlines. We're going to move on to another couple beefy ones here. The Oblivion remaster is real, so it's been rumored for like a year that it's going to shadow drop, and I think if this game has been leaked and rumored, it's not really quote-unquote a shadow drop, but the official announcement did come at the same time as the game launched, which was a couple weeks ago now, so it's a little bit old, but from the Steam page, The Elder Scrolls 4 Oblivion Remastered modernizes the 2006 Game of the Year version with all new stunning visuals and refined gameplay. Explore the vast landscape of, I don't know how to pronounce this, is it Cyrodiil? Has anyone played here Oblivion?
No.
No, you got it. You got it pretty close. Yeah.
Okay, amazing. Yeah. Like never before, and stop the forces of Oblivion from overtaking the land in one of the greatest RPGs ever from the award-winning Bethesda Game Studios. Experience everything Oblivion has to offer with previously released story expansions, Shivering Isles, Knights of the Nine, and additional DLC. I think it even includes the horse armor that you had to pay for. The first ever like DLC or whatever they did back like 20 years ago. I think they added new horse armor though that you can buy separately as part of the expanded version or whatever, the deluxe edition. But it's available now on PC, Xbox Series, PS5, and Game Pass. There's no word if it's coming to Switch 2 or anything like that, although Skyrim was a pretty big launch title for Switch 1, so I imagine at some point down the road this is going to come to Switch 2 as well. And it's the best part though is it's not even a full price AAA game. It's a AAA game obviously, but here in Canada it's $66.99, so that's $23 less than most new releases. So I have to imagine it's $49.99 US. Sounds like is what it probably translates to. And it's on Game Pass too. So because it was funded by Xbox, like it's on Game Pass. So if you have Game Pass, it's not, I won't say free because I think that doesn't qualify, but it's included if you already pay for Game Pass. So if you already pay for it, I guess it's technically free, but
I feel like this podcast episode is really convincing me to try to get Game Pass.
That's
two games I want.
I feel so guilty because it's like it goes against all of my the word I don't know. Anyways, but it goes against everything I believe in with the idea of how everything's going to, you don't own the game, like the digital, like all of this stuff, and like the second. But you get so much from it.
Well, see, here I am complaining about the game key cards. I hate them. I don't care that they're a stopgap between, like, I can feel the claws of the death of physical, like the death of physical claws, whatever. This metaphor is going nowhere, but physical media is dying and I love physical media. Yeah. And I can feel that the Switch 2 generation and the PS5 and the Xbox Series are the last generation where physical is going to be a focus. Like even Indiana Jones just came out on disc and the game isn't on the disc. It's like 20 gigs of it, or I think a BD25. And then the rest, you have to download the other 80 gigs. And it's like, I really wanted to pick up a physical copy of this game to put it next to my Indiana Jones Blu-rays. So, because I did that with Alien Isolation, which is complete on the Switch cartridge. And I lined it up in chronological order with all the other Alien movies on my shelf.
Oh, that's fun.
It feels so cool to do that. And I can't do that with Indiana Jones and it makes me sad. And now with Switch 2 games, like, there's like, the rumor is that there's only 2 types of cartridges. And that's why Nintendo has the game key card option, is because there's 4 gigabyte cartridges for smaller games and 64 gigabyte cartridges, whereas before every increment of size had a cartridge. So there would be 4, 8, 2, 4, 8, 16, 32, and 32 I think was the highest Switch 1 would go. So they bumped it up to 64, but there's no 128 gigabyte cartridge, there's no 32. So because these cartridges are so expensive to produce, it's obviously cheaper to do the game key cards. So I can just feel that like Yeah, Nintendo's first-party games are probably going to be all on cartridge for the next 8 years or whatever, but then, like, I'm almost surprised there isn't a digital-only Switch 2 option. Like, I feel like we're leaving that golden era of physical media, which hasn't really been a golden era at all lately, but...
Bronze era.
even limited run games is doing, sorry, I've been off about this. I basically said, fuck your Game Pass shit here. Let's talk about physical media, but even limited run games is doing that new Atlas game, that remaster Rido. That limited run games version, the cartridge is also a game key card, so not even limited run is doing complete on cartridge games, and that's the whole point of limited run, is to have a physical cartridge that you don't have to download anything off of. Even Toomba didn't have the game breaking patches on the cartridge after they promised they would have it. So it's all falling apart. So like, on top of the world falling apart, so is physical media collecting, which is my only like vice. But yes, Game Pass is good if you don't like physical media. I highly recommend Game Pass.
And then what is that? Yeah. Oh, something. Go. No. You go, please.
No, I was just gonna say, like, I'm a bit of a, like, I like both, like, but, and I don't like, I like both and I don't like both. Basically, like, very different things where I'm just like, I grew up with physical media. Of course, I'm gonna want to like get a physical copy of something. However, like, the cost of just gaming in general and games is sometimes just astronomical. So like, it's more often that you'll see a digital game on sale and I'm like, that's more within my price point, I'm gonna get digital. And like, I, you know, as much as and I think part of that, the reason that I like the part that I don't like about it is that, like, it's like, well, you don't really own the game, you have a subscription. If you buy it, then yes, but you're going to have to keep the system to want to play it, because it doesn't really translate to other systems unless you get it on PC, because PC is really accessible for all these different types of digital games.
Even then, though, that's still kind of flimsy, especially the older the games get and the more they update OSs. Anyway, but I see your point, true. Though.
Yeah. So yeah, it's tough either way. I would say, but it's actually in the case of Oblivion, are they also did they release that like physically? Do you know, or is that purely digital?
It's getting a physical release, but I don't think it's complete on the disc either. It's it's a disc with like some of the game on it, and then a license to download the rest.
Okay, interesting.
So,
talking about this game though, I am very tempted to buy it sometime soon. All the articles that I've read about this game is it just keeps, everything I read feels like this game is a delight. Everyone's happy about this remaster. It is literally the same game, just looking a little nicer, and it's on Unreal Engine 5. The Shadow Drop was, I didn't even hear about the rumor, to be honest. So really, I was like, oh, there's going to be a remaster. Wait, it's out now? Oh, okay. Like, I was just really like shocked by that. And the very first article I read was about the horse armor, which I just freaking loved. And I think my favorite like bit of information that I've read about this remaster is that there is one NPC who in the original, like, I don't know where she can be found, but you find her in some city, and you talk to her, and the actress who did it, who voiced her line, she flubs it, but in the original game they keep the whole line. So she literally says, oh, thank you, like, hello traveler, welcome to this city. Let me try that again. Hello, traveler. And everything's and they kept that in the remaster. And I went, that's
oh my gosh,
unbelievable. I love that so much. And like that, that alone makes me want to get this game. It's just such a delight. I'm happy that the Oblivion fans got this. It sounds like it's a nice little homage and ode to the original game. And I haven't played to completion any Elder Scrolls game. I played a bit of Skyrim, but I'm interested to see if they're gonna do maybe something similar with like Morrowind. Like, I know that one was pretty popular too. Maybe not as popular as Oblivion, but yeah.
Yeah, everything I've seen, I've been waiting until I can actually dedicate time to this, but to actually start playing it. But everything I've seen, they've held on to the heart of the game. And I don't think I've seen a remaster do that in a long time. So, and just like the videos I've seen of the glitches, just beautiful.
Well, all that goodwill about Xbox, I'm about to break it. You might not want Game Pass after this, because Xbox has raised prices for everything physical.
Oh, goody.
Except older games. Obviously, older games are exempt from this right now, but I'm gonna detail exactly what Xbox just fucking did, because you thought Nintendo was bad. Nintendo's about to look like a guardian angel compared to what Xbox is doing. Because it's really Nintendo was the canary in the coal mine, and the coal mine is clear, so everyone else is going in now. Anyway, Microsoft has announced price increases for consoles and controllers as well as headsets, which took effect immediately right after announcement. So there was no even grace period of being like, hey, you want this thing now while it's still cheap? Go fuck yourself. And this includes increases from anywhere from 80 USD to 100 USD on all versions of the Series console. Even the S, which has not sold super well, and they've been price dropping for years around like holidays and whatever. You know, like they've been trying to get these consoles in your hands, and now they're just like, screw it, it's $100 more. Anyway, so I'm just going to kind of go through some of the price increases here to give you a sense of it. These are Canadian prices, by the way, because we'd be here forever talking about different currencies. And I also noticed that most of my listeners are in Canada anyway. So we're just, anyway, going to talk about Canadian prices. I know, Lloyd, you're our American guest, but I'm
not buying Xbox
by $20.
Yeah.
So the Xbox Series S 512 gigabytes, which is the one that I have, is $449, previously $379.99. The Xbox Series S 1 terabyte is $529.99, previously $449.99. The Xbox Series X 1 terabyte is $730, previously $650. The Series X Digital 1 terabyte, which was that nice fancy black edition that that's actually a different one. The Series X 2 terabyte Galaxy Black Special Edition is now $880, previously $800. The Xbox Series Digital 1 terabyte is $680, previously $600. The wireless controller, so the one that doesn't even have its own battery pack in it, you have to get new batteries for it, is $85, previously $75. The special edition versions of those controllers are $100, previously $90. The Elite Series 2 controller is $185, previously $160. The Elite controller Series 2, that was the core, and then the regular Series 2 controller is $250, previously $230.
Oh my
Games this fall will also be getting a $10 USD increase in the US, which will translate to a $20 increase here. Wow. So yes, that means the base price of AAA Xbox titles will be 110 Canadian, matching Mario Kart World's high price point, meaning that Donkey Kong Bonanza at $100 looks like a kid-friendly discount in comparison.
Oof.
Welcome back, Wii U era prices. They have not said which titles will be affected, so we don't know if it'll only affect future releases. Yeah, like I said, I don't think it's going to affect retroactively affect released games. Like Indiana Jones isn't going to get a sudden price increase. However, we're going to talk about the nuance of this because Sega, specifically at Best Buy Canada, went back and repriced all their games. So Metaphor ReFantazio, which has gone as low as $60 Canadian, is now a $100 game at full price at Best Buy Canada. Yakuza, whichever the most recent Yakuza game is, I cannot keep up. The last 7 of them were pirate themed, and they keep like pitching pirates as like the big. Anyway, one of the pirate ones also went up another 10 Canadian dollars, despite being discounted to like $35 at one point. Now it's like I don't remember if it was like it went up from 75 to 85 or 85 to 95, but it went up another 10 Canadian dollars. So far, though, there's no Game Pass. Sorry,
you heard it here.
Completely accidental, I promise. So we talked earlier about Ghost of Yotei, and we talked earlier about GTA 6. So here's where this comes in: is Ghost of Yotei is coming out this October, and it is coming out at 70 USD or 90 Canadian. So at the same price that PS5 and Xbox Series games have been for the last 5 years since the start of the pandemic, it is still the same price. I have a feeling that's going to change. I have a feeling at some point, unless you're locking in a pre-order, and again, I'm not saying pre-order this game, don't pre-order. But if this is a game you want to play on launch day, regardless of reviews, maybe lock in your pre-order now, because I have a feeling at some point, once all other game companies have increased all their prices, Sony's going to go, oh, we can do it too. And they're going to increase it. If you've already paid for it and locked in a pre-order, it's actually illegal, I think, in both Canada and the US for them to change your invoice after the fact. So they could cancel your order and make you rebuy it, but if they're not going to cancel it, they can't increase the price.
Right.
Then there's GTA 6, and I'm going to go on a bit of a TED Talk here, but there's been a lot of talk about GTA 6 being the harbinger of increased game prices. And so you're probably thinking like, oh, they just did it, so don't worry, GTA 6 isn't going to do that. I think GTA 6 is going to have another wave of it. Because GTA 6 coming out in the fall, I think it would have been maddening if GTA 6 suddenly became $100 US and brought games up another $20 in the US, another $30 in Canada. That would have been painful happening this October. But now there's another year of us to stomach the new prices, get used to them, and then GTA 6 comes out next year at $100 or 140 Canadian, and suddenly, over the course of next year in 2026, I think we're going to see those prices go up again. And yes, I do think GTA 6 is going to be $100. Yeah. I think all those predictions, it doesn't matter. People are going to buy it and play it. They've been waiting, like, what was it now, 13 years for GTA 6? People are going to pay it. So... and by the time all these price increases are done, I don't think Nintendo's going to increase their prices at all. So at the Wii U days, when like games were $65 versus $80 for other consoles, we're going to go back to an era where Switch 2 is the discount system. Nintendo's just opened the floodgates early, and now they look like the good guys.
Yeah.
Which is wild to me. That like a month ago we were sitting here going like, fuck you, Nintendo. How dare you be the harbinger of all this? And now Nintendo looks like a little angel compared to whatever. And again, this is a prediction with GTA 6, but I would be surprised if it didn't come true. So anyway, thank you for coming to my TED Talk. Be prepared for games like Spider-Man 3, Intergalactic, Final Fantasy VII Remake Part 3, Fable, James Bond. All these new games that you're excited for coming out in the next few years, these are going to be anywhere from 90 USD to 100 USD. I guarantee it.
Yeah.
These aren't real numbers.
Oh my god, that's... I mean, I think the metaphor one hit me pretty hard when you said that amount. I was like, 100? Oh my... Like, I mean, I already know, like, we talked about Nintendo and their price increase, and that's partially the reason, like, one reason as to why I'm like, I can't get a Switch 2 right now. But, yeah, it's interesting that, like, I feel like we've talked a lot about GTA 6 being the main, like, this is going to be, like, the release of this is going to set the precedent for game prices going forward. And we're anticipating it to still probably set some kind of precedent because everybody's been waiting for it for so long. And then all of this happened. Like, and then Nintendo announced their price changes. Xbox has just announced all that. I'm actually really glad that I ended up buying a wireless controller, an Xbox wireless controller for my dad, like last month or last couple months or whatever, because like I would never be, well, I mean, first of all, he would never be like being like, I'm going to spend $85 on a controller. There's no way he would. And at the same time, like, I bought the Xbox controller for him because he just got like a new PC and he wanted to try out games, and because he likes Wolfenstein, he likes Call of Duty, different games like that, and he's like, yeah, I want to play these because like now I have I have a much nicer PC, I can play them. And like looking online, all the research was suggesting, yeah, Xbox feels like a really great controller. You can plug it into your PC, you can connect it via Bluetooth if you don't want the wire, and are okay with maybe like a slight bit of lag, and like all this other stuff. So I was like, yeah, I guess so. Like, me and my brother will pitch in, we'll buy him an Xbox controller. So yeah, I am glad that we did that, and that is $85 is disgusting. So is also $250 for a wireless controller Series 2. Like, I would never spend that. Oh my gosh.
Here's what I don't understand about Xbox controllers. So Xbox is this weird thing where, yeah, like PlayStation has like a very premium version of the DualSense. Yeah. Where it's like $250, whatever. Like, it's very premium. Yeah. It's not modular, but it's like the next best thing you can get. Like, it's very premium. Mm-hmm. With Xbox, their controllers are priced a little bit cheaper than like Nintendo or PlayStation with their base controllers. But even the Nintendo Pro controller, which I don't love, and then there's the DualSense, which I do love. All of these controllers have all of these nice features like haptic feedback, like nice rumble features. Like, it just has all those premium things you expect from any controller now.
Yeah.
Those Xbox controllers, those really cheaper ones, and they're not cheap, but like the cheapest version of those, they don't have any of those features. They don't even have like built-in batteries, like a USB-C charger. You can buy an extra one for $30, and I'm sure that's gone up now too, that you can plug in and charge that. But like, I still use rechargeable AA batteries in my Xbox controllers, whereas like Nintendo and Sony, for a slightly higher price increase, you get all that built into it, plus you get all those other features. So I've never understood how Xbox can justify these two weird, this price disparity between like a very good premium controller at $250 and then $85 for what is basically a pile of shit.
Yeah. Oh, honestly, like, I have a third-party Pro controller, which has worked just as fine. Like, nothing's been wrong with it. I love it. It was cheaper. It was great. I was gonna say something else. Oh yeah, the other thing that comes to my mind too is that I'm a little more cautious with buying controllers, like buying a lot, like more than one controller lately, because like, and I might just be and I haven't read that this is like a universal experience, but I've had like shit luck with a bunch of our PS5 controllers. Like they are dying in multiple ways.
Garbage.
Yeah, like it's like
Garbage.
I was just like, I don't know, like because I mean I have PS4 controllers that work fine. I have like, you know, all this other stuff. So I'm like, I don't think I'm like rough with them or anything, right? Like I drop one out like once or twice a year, like maybe by accident, but like they're not from like this they're not from a great height or anything, so it shouldn't actually affect it. So I don't know, like if I spent $250 on a premium wireless controller season 2 and there was something wrong with it, I'm not going out to buy another one. Like I don't know.
Yeah, no, and just to like let you know you're not alone. We've gone through something like 5 PlayStation 5 controllers. Right? It's yeah. It's ridiculous. Insane. Like, I don't like, and I'm gonna sound so old saying this, but like, the older I get, the more fragile stuff is, and I don't just mean fragile as in we break it. I mean, I can just look at it and it'll stop working. And like, all of our PS5 controllers, we have one or two, both of the analog sticks will go, or they'll like have that slow drift.
Yeah. We have that. Yep.
That's the big one. L3 and R3. Like it's usually around the analog sticks for us. But no, like as time's passing, tech is getting worse, and like the planned obsolescence is so glaringly obvious. And just like this whole like Xbox story, sorry to like keep us trapped here, but
no, it's fine.
I've got this feeling they don't want to sell video games. They don't. Like
yeah,
they don't. They what I'm seeing here is they're trying to funnel everyone to get to Game Pass, to either be PC gamers or just get Game Pass. You still have to deal with all those ridiculous prices for controllers and the hardware, but once you make that initial investment, you're in quotes, heavy quotes, and then it's just the monthly charge for Game Pass, because I have noticed Game Pass has been starting to get a lot more day one releases on it over the last couple of years. So I feel like they just don't want to sell video games anymore. They want us all to do subscriptions, and that's it.
Well, yeah, there's also the everything as an Xbox thing where you can just get like a Fire Stick, plug it into your TV, connect a controller wirelessly to it, and you know, if you have a decent internet connection, you can literally just stream games off their own servers. You don't even have to buy them. You just get Game Pass, and you know, and the tech is getting there for it. And I think that is where they want us to be. The same way Netflix. Also, Netflix started with a physical media rental business, and look at, they've destroyed that business now. It's gone, and they've destroyed it for everyone else. They've destroyed Blockbuster. They've destroyed people buying discs. They've destroyed TV networks. Like, all that stuff is now stream, and now everyone wants a cut of the streaming pie, and now they're slowly reintroducing all the stuff that made TV shitty, which is why we left TV to go to streaming, is they've got ads, they've got high prices, multiple services, so now you're paying the same amount as you pay for cable or you know, regular TV packages. So, well, yes, I think that is where they're going for. I think a couple more price increases with Game Pass, and once we're all locked into that ecosystem and not buying physical anymore, it's going to get worse. We just saw it with Netflix, and we just saw it with Disney Plus. And now Disney Plus, like Disney Plus made their own movies to put and shows to put on the service. And when people don't watch them, or it's been enough time, unless it's like a Star Wars or a Marvel, they take it off. And so, like, yeah, obviously there's some deals with games where, like, yeah, we got the rights to this game for 2 years, right? We paid 2 years to have this game on Game Pass. But, like, I think you're going to see one day, like, Indiana Jones, they're going to take it off. That planned obsolescence is going to exist for their own games. Where they're going to say, like, you know, and then that's going to incentivize you to, like, oh, I got to get Game Pass right now, so I got to download it so I can play Indiana Jones now. And, you know, it's like, anyway, it's all shitty, terrible. Everything's being shitified. Ever since Zoe Strauss said the word shitification on the podcast, like, last November, that's all I've been thinking about is the word shitification. And that's all it is. It's planned obsolescence. It's shitification. They're getting us in there, and then they're boiling us like frogs until we don't, slowly boiling us like frogs until we don't notice how bad things are. Anyway, sorry, I keep derailing the conversation with my TED Talks here. We are going to skip. I have a headline here that I'll probably talk about in a future episode about the Pokemon Game Freak leak that happened, the big hack that happened last August. It was legitimate. I've been talking about how unsure I was. It is legitimate, but for time, I'm going to skip that and I'll come back to it in a future episode. But we're going to jump over here to this new headline, this other headline. Insider Gaming has revealed that an unannounced Blade Runner game has been canceled. And I'm actually really disappointed because it sounds really cool. So usually licensed games, especially those based on movies, are kind of middle of the road, mid, buggy, or just not plain fun. But lately there's been a bunch. We've talked about some in this episode, like Indiana Jones, that have been well thought out and very fun to play, like Spider-Man, Indiana Jones, Star Wars Outlaws, Alien Isolation, Ghostbusters, Mad Max, and lots of others. And there's a bunch in development too. Like I mentioned James Bond. I mentioned Spider-Man 3. TMNT, The Last Ronin is getting an adaptation. They're making a proper AAA Avatar The Last Airbender game. They're making an Iron Man game. They're making Marvel 1943 Rise of Hydra, which is the Black Panther Captain America game set in the 40s during World War II. And there's also Star Wars Eclipse coming from the people who did Detroit Become Human. So these are all coming from large proven studios with big budgets. So like there's some faith in that these are going to not be like, oh, Ratatouille just came out. Go play the really crappy Ratatouille adaptation on PS1. So anyway, Supermassive Games that we talked about earlier a little bit with their game The Quarry. And they also did the original Until Dawn, not the remake. They had to cancel a sizably budgeted Blade Runner game that we didn't even know about until after it had already been canceled. And this quote from Insider Gaming: Insider Gaming has learned that Blade Runner Time to Live was a character-focused cinematic action-adventure game where you are the only Blade Runner in 2065. The game would feature a 10 to 12-hour single-player story that, per document sent to Insider Gaming, under the condition they not be made public, involved a, quote, compelling story blending the philosophical themes of Blade Runner with kinetic action-adventure gameplay. The game began pre-production last September with the core team comprised of those who worked on The Quarry. Pre-production was scheduled to end in March 2025, with the end of prototyping by September 2025. A full release was planned for September 2027 on PS5, Xbox Series X and S, PC, and, this is kind of surprising, the Gen 10 Xbox and PlayStation systems. It was set to have a full development budget of roughly $45 million, with $9 million of it being used for external performance and capture. External performance capture and acting talent. What wasn't included in the budget, however, was the original music production, image rights, and usage fees for performers, QA and game testing, localization, and any future DLC. So, when I was younger, I didn't really like Blade Runner. I thought it was kind of full of itself, but as I've gotten older and I've come to appreciate the movies more, I actually really love them. And I think Supermassive Games taking the opportunity to make a proper action-adventure game that isn't just like a pre-made movie to play through like the Blade Runner universe, I think that sounds super cool, especially with a moderate budget. You know, things are kind of in control. But it seems to me like based on this article from Insider Gaming, and actually I think I forgot to include the quote here, but the article does say that it was actually the rights holder, I think it was Alcon, that pulled the rights to this. So there was nothing wrong with the game, like development wise. They just decided, you know, we have control of this license. We don't want you to use it. We're taking it back. Which is why I think the story was leaked, is maybe to try to get people on Supermassive's side to maybe force Alcon's hand, the same way the Deadpool movie, like pitch documents and pitch reel was leaked back before they made the Ryan Reynolds Deadpool movie. Apparently Ryan Reynolds himself leaked it because Fox didn't want to make it, and he wanted to, and so people saw how great it looked, and anyway, it forced Fox's hand to actually greenlight the movie, so.
I'm wondering what's happening with the Blade Runner IP, because I haven't been keeping up with the movie itself, but it got either pushed back further, or I don't know if it's completely canceled, the movie that they were working on, or rumored to be working. Canceled, so that's probably why.
You're talking about the 2049 sequel, right?
Yeah.
Oh,
it didn't make enough money.
Oh.
Because they like tease that sequel in the movie with the like you see that there's a revolution kind of happening behind the scenes with all the like other storyline going on.
Yeah.
But those movies don't make any money. They're like they're one of those things you fund when your other movies are doing well.
Right.
So
I'm wondering if that's all part of the same, if they were hoping, you know, when they started this project that they were gonna like, you know, 2027 was when it was kind of rumored to come out. That would have been a really good time based on like the original projected release date of the movie. I'm wondering if it's related.
Maybe. I feel like the Blade Runner IP is just like cursed in terms of having games that are good for it. Because I do remember there's like a really classic like 1997 Blade Runner point and click adventure game, which is really nice to look at. I don't know if the story was all that exciting or anything, but I've watched a bit of it. I haven't actually played it, but I feel like it didn't get a whole lot of popular. It wasn't very popular, maybe. So this is a shame because I genuinely like the Blade Runner stories. 2049 surprised me in how much I liked it, and I really like the original too. So this is legitimately a shame. I didn't even know that they were hopefully planning on making a sequel, and that got canceled. So now I'm doubly sad.
Yeah, I think this game might have been. Sorry, Lloyd, to cut you off just super quickly. I think this game might have became the sequel.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, interesting. Yeah. And with everything that happened with the newest Deadpool and like. We're trying to, like, it was supposed to be, like, a goodbye to 20th Century Fox, right? But, they kind of, with how huge, you know, Deadpool and Wolverine became, it was kind of like, what's going to happen to these abandoned stories? Or, like, these, you know, these superhero movies in the early 2000s or late 90s that got no love. And Blade Runner, no. Yes. Hold up. Am I in the right place? Blade
Runner?
Yes.
Blade Runner is not a Fox property. Usually it's produced by Warner Brothers, I think. And I think Sony also co-funded this one. But in theory, Disney could fund a Blade Runner movie if Alcon ever brought the rights to them. But I think, generally speaking, Warner Brothers did the last two. The one from 81 and then the one from, was it 2017 when Blade Runner 2049 came out?
I think so.
For some reason, my brain says it was 2019, but I think that's when the original movie takes place.
Hold on.
My brain just shut off because I heard Blade versus Blade Runner in my head. Oh, okay, I'm feeling.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
Okay. Now there is a Blade video game, like the Vampire Hunter.
Yes.
That's separate. Xbox is funding a Blade game. I didn't mention that when I was talking about all the licensed games coming out, but there is a Blade video game in development as well. And I think, as far as I know, that one's still on track. But Blade Runner is based on the Philip K. Dick novel, Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep?
Yes. Okay. Feel free to retcon anything I said. I think I was picturing Blade,
the
vampire thing, the whole time. Oh, okay. I'm back.
All good.
Well, you're still technically right because there was a planned sequel to Blade Runner, 2049, that was going to continue Ryan Gosling's storyline from that movie as part of the Uprising.
Yeah.
That's kind of hinted at, but I don't think that movie ever had an official title or plans, just like they were hoping that if this movie did well, they could talk about a new one. But I think you give it another 40 years and you'll see Ryan Gosling as an old man doing what Harrison Ford did in the last one when they eventually make a third Blade Runner movie. Okay, let's move on to the last news story here. Actually, it's the second last news story, technically. I'm lying a little bit, but one of them leads into our segments. So this is technically our last news story. So anyway, Borderlands had a state of play this week, Borderlands 4. And the description, I'm not going to summarize the whole thing, but we'll just quickly go through it all. Borderlands 4 is a mayhem-fueled looter shooter jam-packed with billions of weapons, outraged enemies, and intense co-op action. Explore a dangerous hidden planet Kairos as one of 4 new badass vault hunters. Break free from the oppressive Timekeeper, a ruthless dictator who dominates the masses from on high. Does this sound familiar? Now, a world-altering catastrophe threatens his perfect order, unleashing mayhem from across the planet. If only that could happen in our lifetime. Ignite a resistance and blast your way through mechanical monstrosities. I'm definitely not asking for an uprising or revolution. I am not saying that if anyone is listening. Ignite a resistance and blast your way through mechanical monstrosities, bloodthirsty bandits, and vicious beasts with a new traversal mechanic, like double jumping, gliding, dodging, fixed-point grappling, and more. Fight solo or in co-op with up to 3 other players. And anyway, I'm not going to bother reading the rest of that description. But anyway, quickly here, and if anyone wants to jump in while I talk about this, I heard in the state of play that it's a good entry point for new players. So I've never played Borderlands before, despite having, I think I got a really cheap copy of Borderlands 2 on PlayStation 4 at one point. I literally never opened it. I just never got around to it. So it's nice to know that this newer version of this new game is a good jumping in point for me. But it also does continue the story where Borderlands 3 left off. A story about an uprising. So like I said before, it feels very cathartic at this time in our lives. And there's also a new drone character called Echo 4 who follows you around and looks really cute. He reminds me of like a floating BB-8. It has co-op gameplay. It's visually stunning. It's got this nice blend of realism combined with the cell shading that the series is known for. You can set the campaign difficulty while playing co-op separate from your friends. So Lloyd, if you and I were playing together and I wanted to play on easy and you wanted to play on hard mode, we could do that together without compromising each other's gameplay experience, which I don't even know how that's going to
cool.
work, but I think that is so fucking cool.
How
it will
will
have
that
crossplay.
work?
Yeah,
sorry.
I don't know.
That's cool.
I don't know. They didn't even explain in the thing. They're just like, you can do this, and I was like, okay, sure.
I'm picturing I'm struggling with an enemy and I'm on a higher difficulty, and then like say like in your example you're at a lower one. I'm struggling with it. I'm like, hey Zuri, can you shoot this? And then it's down. Like what's the
I mean, maybe that is how it works. I don't know how much leeway they actually have to like be able to do that. It has crossplay at launch, which is kind of rare these days. Usually it's a post-launch update. The gliding kind of looks silly, the gliding mechanic. There's something off about the way it looks because your character doesn't start gliding like in Zelda, where your like position changes or your camera angle changes. It just looks like you start moving forward like you're like on a tether or something being pulled to the next spot. But I think the boots have rockets in them, so I don't know if you'd call that gliding. Anyway, it still works as a mechanic. It just looks kind of silly. There's giant contagious mushroom creatures called Tim. There's different manufacturers' parts that can be found in the same weapon, making loot more variable and exciting to find. Drop rates are adjusted based on player feedback from previous entries, so they have been listening. There's a cooldown timer for bigger weapons instead of having to save them for boss fights. You can pet the big scary elemental cat, which is terrifying and adorable. There's a boss replay mode. Supposedly this was much harder before, where you had to load into your saves to replay a boss, but now there's just like, I don't think it's a boss rush mode, but it's like a boss replay mode. And the release date has been bumped up from September 23rd to September 12th. And it will be coming to PS5, Xbox Series, Nintendo Switch 2, and PC.
Nice. Okay. Yeah, I'm excited for this. I think it'll be fun. I also haven't played the other Borderlands games. I played a little bit, I should say. I played a very small amount of 2. I know my partner will be excited for this one. So I feel like we won't get it maybe when it releases, but like maybe like a year later when there's maybe a bit more of a price drop. But if you like looter shooters, like I've honestly heard nothing but good things about these games. So.
Or it gets a price increase, and then you're scrambling to get it at the old full price.
Nah, when if anything, the price increase will just make us wait longer. Like we'll be like, all right, 2 years, cool. We don't. There's very few games I feel like either of us would get for day one. Like the only one for me would be maybe like a Xenoblade game, but even then it might be different because Xenoblade, as like a trilogy, is done. And whatever new Xeno game will be next will be a different story, supposedly. So
that's fair. Lloyd, are you a Borderlands fan?
Yeah, I played Borderlands 3. Didn't finish it, but it was mainly for the multiplayer aspect of being able to have something to play with my brother, and it's always had a goofy little universe to it. Sorry for anyone who gets upset with that, but it's always had a fun little goofy like level of humor to it that when I was much younger I thought the art style was lacking, but now that I've gotten like older and like things don't have to look realistic, I appreciate the art style of it. It's got an artistry to it that not a lot of stuff has.
The Wind Waker effect in real time.
Yep. Borderlands is very colorful. It's true.
And I don't know if it's what the name of the art style is, but like the JoJo Bizarre Adventures level of the planes on the characters. All of the features that you've mentioned are improvements in quality of life in the game, which I'm excited to see how they manifest. Announcing them versus execution are two very different sides of the coin. So fingers crossed it's good, and that looks like a good time.
Okay, we're going to take a short break, and after this musical interlude, we'll be back with our last news story, which is that there is a split fiction movie in the works, and then we're going to talk about queer games we want to see adapted into movies or TV shows. So we'll be right back. And we are back from the break, True Avatars, and we are going to talk quickly about one last news segment because it leads directly into our topic this week, which is queer games we want to specifically see adapted into TV shows or movies. So you may have heard that Split Fiction is being adapted into a movie so soon after its release. So it is planned to be directed by John M. Chu, who directed Wicked, and also did Wicked Part 2, which comes out this year, and also is known for directing Crazy Rich Asians, and I think a few dance movies from like a decade ago that were kind of popular, whose names escape me right now, but so far the only star attached is Sydney Sweeney, known for Euphoria, Madam Web, and Anyone But You. It also comes from the writing duo who wrote Zombieland and all the Deadpool movies, so at least it'll be kind of zany and fun like those movies. But that's all we know. Like we just know the names attached to it. We don't even know who Sydney Sweeney is playing. Supposedly they haven't decided whether she's going to be playing Mio or Zoe, although I thought Mio was a person of color. If they're getting a white person to play Mio, I'm not so sure anymore. I did ask Nicole and she thought so too. So my guess would be that Sydney Sweeney is playing Zoe because she literally looks exactly like Zoe. But anyway, I thought it would be fun with the recent excitement of all these really cool both good and bad adaptations, but there seems to be a big boom of video game adaptations. And I thought, like, okay, what games do we want to see? What queer games do we want to see adapted? And so anyway, there's some criteria for this before we get into it. And I'll do one as an example before I hear both of yours, because I asked for two examples. But so first question is, which queer video game and why? Second question is, do you want it to be a movie or a TV show? The third question, who would you cast? And you don't have to go over every role. If there's a big cast in the game, you can list a couple people if you want. And then the fourth question is, who do you want to direct? And then number 5 is, tell me more about the idea. What's your pitch? Why would this work as an adaptation? So my first choice is Life is Strange. And yes, I know that Life is Strange already has an adaptation in the works, but it's had an adaptation in the works for almost a decade and it hasn't moved any further. So despite me being optimistic, I don't think it happens anytime soon, especially with Double Exposure's kind of failure to launch recently. So anyway, which queer video game and why? So Life is Strange. The show is already told like a playable movie or TV show, and the story is broken up into episodes that could already like become their own TV episodes. So I want it to be a TV show, which answers question 2. But the why of it all is this game has lots of drama. It has lots of twists and turns and good spots to break up into narrative chunks. And also it's a teen drama. Like it would sit really well along the likes of stuff like Riverdale and what's that other one on Netflix with the Addams Family one, Wednesday. Like those kinds of shows, they're really popular and they always have been. Like teen dramas have always are evergreen in popularity, even if like a decade ago those ones aren't popular anymore. Next week there'll be a new one that is like the talk of the town, right? And I think Life is Strange could be one of those. And so when it's a TV show though, is that there's multiple games in this series, so each game could be it could be an anthology show like American Horror Story or True Detective, where each season is different characters, different cast, different setting, right? So each game could be like that too. As for casting, I think ideally I would go with unknowns, but for a podcast that isn't fun to talk about. So I thought it would be really cool to get Nicole Maines to play Max. Nicole Maines is a trans actress who played Dreamer on Supergirl, so one of the first ever transgender superheroes on screen ever. I think it'd be cool to get that actress to play Max. I would also support a person of color playing Max too. So someone like Amanda Stenberg, who's non-binary and pansexual, and they're known for playing Rue in the Hunger Games. You probably haven't seen them in a lot since, but they're still out there and they're still doing things. So I think it'd be really cool for someone like that to play Max. Obviously, there's going to be a certain subsection of society that doesn't like it when a white character is recast as a black person, but I think Max's race doesn't really matter that much in terms of her backstory. So if you cast a black person to play her, I think that'd be completely fine. As for Chloe's a very punk person. I think Chloe could be played by anyone as well. But I think it would be really cool to get Ali Cravalho, known for playing Moana voicing Moana in the movies. And Ali Cravalho also played Janice in the Mean Girls musical that came out last year. So if you're unsure if Ali Cravalho can kind of play someone punk, you just have to look at what she looks like outside of movies or in Mean Girls, because outside she looks like Moana when she's like in a movie, but outside of movies she looks more like Chloe. Like she's got short pink hair, very punk, very alt, very not traditional looking in terms of hairstyle and aesthetics. So anyway, I think she could also play Max too. So either one. As for director, I would get Jane Schoenbrunn, who did I Saw the TV Glow. Because Life is Strange has this really cool blend of like mainstream teen drama and also just like weird alt indie feel. And I think Jane Schoenbrun's I Saw the TV Glow has a good mix of both of those things too, with style and substance. So I think that's who I don't know if Jane Schoenbrun would ever direct something this mainstream or even television, but that's who I would want if I was producing this movie. Yeah, and the other thing I would do with this series too, if I was adapting it, is I would take the Before the Storm prequel and I would sort of interweave those parts of the narrative into season 1 of the main story of Life is Strange to kind of like branch it out into one full season. The same way The Last of Us shows stuff from like stuff you don't really see in the game, like the backstory of how the zombies came to be and all that stuff. Like we don't really see Outbreak Day in the original game much. So they extrapolate that. So I would use Before the Storm to extrapolate the story more. And that's my pitch for a Life is Strange TV show.
Very cool.
So who wants to go first or next, rather, with now that they've heard an example?
I suppose I could go give it a shot. So one game that I'd like to see adapted, I think probably for a movie, is Gone Home. Because I basically, so actually, if anyone doesn't know Gone Home, that is I've talked about it on the podcast maybe once, but it is a game about like a sister who's come home. It takes place, I believe, in the 90s, maybe the early 2000s, and you go through and you come home to kind of an empty house. You don't know where your sister is, and you're coming across all these notes and learning about maybe what has become of her and what happens with her, and it ends up being a really nice, sweet queer story. And I think a movie would be good just because the game itself is not particularly long. So I feel like it could be contained well within a movie. In terms of who I would cast, I was thinking a lot about this. I feel like I'd want like so. In like kind of like the main three characters, I guess, would be like the person the sister you play as, the sister you're looking for is the second person, and then the third person who I won't go into detail of for spoilers, but there is a third person involved. You could also cast like the parents too, but they're kind of like mentioned. And I feel like for the sisters, I feel like maybe having someone like Haley Steinfeld or I believe her name is Thomasine McKenzie. Thomasine McKenzie was in Last Night in Soho, and I really liked her in that. And
she's great.
Yeah, and they both seem like just like they would fit probably the roles pretty well. In terms of directors, I had to think about this a lot because I admit I don't actually know too many director. Like if I was thinking of movies, I don't immediately think about directors necessarily, but kind of in the same line as like, well, I like how this movie portrayed like going back in time and like learning about past events. I might actually honestly suggest Edgar Wright because I think about Last Night in Soho quite a bit. Now that one was obviously more of like a thriller and a little bit horror, but I like the way that Edgar Wright worked with like looking at events in the past and like how they're telling the story as the movie continues, and then going back between the past and the present. And I feel like if it was a movie, like I feel like they could go a little bit further with like when the sister's going through the house and you're finding these notes that were from your sister, or like little bits and pieces about like scenes where maybe like she fought with the parents or something, and like I feel like that could be really cool to actually show those scenes in the movie because we don't actually see them visually in the game. We just read about them and hear them audibly. Because it's all like environmental storytelling. So I feel like a movie could be cool to actually like showcase those scenes and like and also give like a face to the player character, because we don't it's a first person game perspective. So yeah, I feel like if it was a movie, it could maybe elaborate more on some of those points. And honestly, maybe we'd get some more information about that third character that I kind of alluded to, because we don't really hear about her until like you realize like the what the story actually is, and then you like learn more by the end, or you learn everything by the end. And while it's a cool reveal, I feel like they could like maybe just like give her more of like, I don't know, give her more scenes of like how she was, like how she came to be known by the other character and everything. because I feel like we didn't get a ton of it because we were just reading notes in the game. And honestly, it's some notes, like your sister isn't going to want to write down everything because sometimes she didn't want like the parents to read it or anything, right? So, yeah, I think it'd be a cool movie. Yeah, that's my pitch.
I like that one.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, I think just quickly, Gone Home, because it's a very quiet game with not a lot of talking or dialogue, not a lot of interaction, but like reframing it as something with a lot of flashbacks as this character explores an empty house, I think could be very interesting. And I think Edgar Wright is a very interesting choice for it too. Because and Edgar Wright is known for like Hot Fuzz and Shaun of the Dead, which are very different from Last Night in Soho. Last Night in Soho was kind of a departure for him in terms of style. Like there's a little bit of that substance in there with like his weird cutting and editing style and like that fastness. But once the story gets going and there's horror elements to it, like it becomes very different for what he usually directs. So,
I mean, you could alternatively like think about, like I was also trying to think of like, you know, films that were like indie coming of age, like that could fit the vibe more probably. But I didn't have any immediate thoughts of like the directors of those movies, so that I could think of.
That's fair. Yeah, no, I come from a film background, so like gaming circles doesn't know directors as much as like film circles, and I'm kind of got one foot in each circle. So I was like, that was more for me to kind of like, I want to talk about the director, but if either of you don't have a good idea for a director or you don't know anyone, like don't feel too much pressure.
Yeah.
Lloyd?
Yeah, so I had two very different ones in mind, and I was just like panic looking up a director a few minutes ago, so you caught me. But let's see. I'll start with Night in the Woods. I would love to see that. I think it could be a limited series. I think there's too much for it to be a movie, but I don't think there's quite enough for it to be like a multi-running show, unless after the events of the game you just hang out in the world. And for context, Night in the Woods, it's very meditative, but it's not. It doesn't take itself too seriously. It's you go back to a small town, and it's got a lot of the heavy baggage that comes into, you have grown into being an adult, you have done something else, and you're back for whatever reason. And it carries around with it a lot of the perceived feelings of failure. You know, you in your entire life might have changed, but everything's still the same here kind of vibe. And there's a lot of things that go into that. Without like spoiling the game, there are some really big story beats that happen that could be really fun to see worked out. I was playing around with the idea on if I wanted it animated or if I wanted it to be live action, because a really big element of Night in the Woods is everyone's a different type of animal. Basically, picture like Arthur, that classic kid show. But what I love about Night in the Woods is, with everyone being adorable, kind of depressed-looking animals, it's got like this great grittiness to it. The world's got this grittiness to it, and if it was live action, even if it was animated, I kept seeing like Aubrey Plaza in it. And
I see that, yeah.
that like very got the same. A lot of the roles she does has a lot of the same energy as the main character. Shit sucks. Here I am. I am existing. I'm gonna make it everyone's problem. And it's so with her, and then her friend group, Caleb Heron kept coming to mind too. And Caleb's had a couple roles. I know one of his bigger ones that a lot more people are familiar with was in like Jurassic World, I think. It was in one of them. He was one of the tech guys in the computer room. But I want to see him in everything. Like I want him to see him in more things, and he's got this energy to him that I want as one of her best friends. And I think one of those characters says the "Be gay, do crime" line, and it's just like it's so many lovely things. I am totally open to director suggestions because I want it to have that same like slice of life kind of goofy vibes to it, with that like serious gritty undertone.
What about Laika? for the studio that did
Ooh.
Coraline.
I like that idea.
Oh.
This is kind of
And
the
do
stop motion.
like a stop motion style with those.
I would love that.
Maybe even like paper cutouts could even be super cool if I'm. Yeah.
Actually, yeah, and even maybe like a director from like it, because like Coraline and even Kubo to an extent, like they kind of feel like that kind of that they could achieve that vibe. I feel like. Actually,
yeah,
I said Kubo. I more so meant Paranorman, but
oh, okay. Yep.
Small
I think
town.
Kubo is also a good comparison as well. Just like
Mhm.
this darkness with this like whimsy meeting this darkness that's
Yeah.
almost Tim Burton-esque.
Mhm.
But like, I'd say Tim Burton is the opposite side of that spectrum, where if it's like there's a little more darkness than whimsy, whereas with like Coraline, there's a little more whimsy than darkness. I think Night of the Woods maybe would.
Yeah.
Night in the Woods? I just said Night of the Woods. Night in the Woods
Mhm.
would really work with that kind of style, maybe. And I think it's the same director for all those movies, right?
I don't know actually.
I don't know. I couldn't tell you.
Same studio, but yeah.
And that's why I kept going back and forth between, because if it wasn't animated, I would want there to be slight nods to each of their character designs and like their clothing or something.
Mhm.
Like maybe there's like a little like patch on like the breast pocket that is like you know how like a little tiny animal embroidery is really popular in some branding,
Right.
like to have like their character sort
That'd
of
be cute.
from
I like that idea.
Yeah.
so that was that one. The other one, very different, is Unsighted. It is a Metroidvania, and I pulled up the definition because I'm terrible at pulling definitions of things I've played. It came out in 2021, developed by Brazilian indie developer Pixel Punk, and it's gorgeous. I haven't finished it. For me, it was a higher skill cap that I was running into with some of the bosses, but when I was thinking about this project, I want to jump back into the game. There are a lot of queer elements into it, and what I love about it is that it's just part of the world. They're not like main plot points. It's not like a thing that needs to be worked through. And since I recently saw Sinners, and I've got this director on my mind, I would really, I think you know where I'm going with this. I would really love to see Ryan Coogler be the director.
I like Ryan Coogler, but I need him to do X-Files reboot first, so no, you can't have Ryan Coogler. I need that X-Files reboot.
No. He's got to be on Unsighted, because it's got this, it's a very, like, pixel art game, so there's not a lot in the way of, like, body horror that's, like, you know, I couldn't really tell you it was horror, but if it was in a more realistic art style, I would think that there would be a lot more opportunities for, like, the tension and the staging that Ryan is so good at. Just, like, I would like that. That just seems... And I think a movie would do it justice. If it was a show, it could get more into all of the world building, because it's, like, post-apocalyptic kind of, and, like, a high-tech. It's a lot more sci-fi than I'm used to for the titles that I've seen Ryan do, but he's done more that I haven't really caught on to. But I would like to see that, and I think that'd be really cool. And so for actors for that one, since I've saw Thunderbolts recently, Florence Pugh is on my mind. She's really good at doing
I have a
like
huge crush on her. She's so pretty.
she's so pretty in like a powerful way, and like a gritty way, and a capable way, and like all of the ways that Kiki Palmer comes to mind too for some of the, because I want to see her in more stuff too. Like, she's phenomenal, and I haven't seen her in a role like this. It's all of the characters are very like combat focused and very capable. It's very survival focused, but everyone has created their own like community in their own world. So that's my thoughts with that one.
Yeah, no. This is a game I purchased a little while ago because it was on sale really cheap on Switch, and I just haven't gotten around to it. But the thing that drew me to it is that it sounds very Zelda-like, and it's like it's a top-down Metroidvania, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's not side-scroller like most Metroidvanias, and so the comparisons I heard were actually more to like Zelda, and anything that's like a top-down 2D Zelda-like is for me like very exciting. So I'm very excited to start this, but also the thing that's stopping me is like, yeah, I've heard there's a high difficulty level on some of the bosses, and I'm scared.
High difficulty level, and it does this lovely thing that's optional, and I'm not gonna go into it to spoil it, but it does add a level of anxiety to the game that you can turn off. You can turn it
okay.
off, but it's
Okay.
really cool storytelling wise. I haven't seen another game do it like this. So if you do get into it and you do talk about it, I'm very interested.
Okay, that's fair. I'll add it to the list of queer games that I really desperately need to play if I ever one day find time to play them.
Yeah, I don't think I've actually heard of this game, so I was just typing it into my little wish list for now. So that's really cool.
And
Well, I have it on Switch. Sorry, go ahead, Lloyd.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, like, this game's got like a level of not desperation or hopelessness, but it's got like this there's high stakes. There's high stakes to the story, to the gameplay, and it's got this level of tension to it that this director, I just keep like thinking like he could do so well with, because a lot of stories drop off when they can't handle that level of stakes the whole time. It either stales out or they just can't deal with it. They might start out okay, but they can't maintain that level of high stakes without it either losing interest in the viewers or kind of cheapening the story of it.
Fair.
You're right. I think Ryan Coogler is a good choice. Sorry, Ekamy.
No, I agree. And I really want to see Sinners. I have not yet, but I want to.
It's great.
I know.
Great.
I'm gonna wait for it to come to a local cinema, so it's like a little cheaper to go to the ticket to go to the theater. So.
Well, sorry. I also want to say one more thing though about, because you said you wanted to play Unsighted. I have it on Switch, and we're in the same family plan. So the next time I see you in person, I can lend you my digital game card, and we can try that out, so you can play it.
That'd be fun. I like that.
Yeah.
That sounds great. Nice.
Anyway, sorry, I keep cutting people off.
No. I just figured I'd put in maybe my second pitch. And that was so the queer video game I was thinking of as a TV show would be AI Somnium Files. The first one could also maybe include the second one, but I know the first one a little bit. I remember it more. And I think it would really work well as a TV show as opposed to a movie, because that game features a lot of, it feels like it could be episodic in an interesting way, because with each chapter you're going into different characters' somnium, or like basically mindscapes, and the levels are kind of based on maybe an anxiety they're feeling or a memory that's like plaguing them or something. You're just kind of trying to explore their mind in a different way. And for those who don't know AI Somnium Files, it is a murder mystery of sorts, where you're playing as a detective named Kaname Date, who, and it's in a futuristic kind of setting where the police and the detectives, they have, basically developed this machine called this, like, to enter people's somnium. So like you get hooked up to it and then you can kind of explore it. And it's, in this case, you're helping to, like, you're going into people's mindscapes to just like help to solve the mystery gradually. You have a little AI assistant kind of person who's like sassy, and I love her. Her name's Aiba. And she is also in Date's case, she's like a physical, basically they physically altered his eye so that he can basically like project things and use like her abilities to do that. But then when he goes into the somnium, she takes on like a persona and she can like walk through it with him. So you're trying to figure out there are these serial killer various serial killings, and they all have like a trademark thing that's happening. I think it's usually they take somebody's left eye or right eye or something. I can't quite remember, but you go through it and you learn about just like all the different things that led to it. And then the game has various different branching paths. If anyone's ever played the 999 games, or like 999 being the first one, the other ones are like Zero Time Dilemma and something else. Those games also have different branching paths. So like it'll be different timelines of things, and then they all converge into like a true timeline when you beat the game. So this one kind of follows the same idea. You have like the good ends, bad ends, and they all kind of converge into a true ending. It's a lot of fun. It's really good. The queerness is that there are queer characters in it. There's a trans woman bartender named Mama. I love her so much. She's sassy and she's great. And there's one of the scientists, like the lead scientist for the Somnia machine, named Pewter. He is canonically known to have a relationship with another character's dad for several years. Basically, after he divorced his wife. Then him and Pewter got together for a time. But yeah, so it's just kind of cool stuff there. So as I was saying, TV show makes sense just because like episodically you could go into like each episode could be like going to people's different mindscapes. And they could, and then I think it'd be cool to have that various like, oh, an episode ends with a timeline and the next episode is like you're back at the beginning of the other one and then you're like, oh, but I thought this happened, but then you learn that it's a different timeline and they all kind of converge. I think that'd be just be really cool. In terms of who I would want to cast, I kind of had some trouble thinking about this because like the game itself, like AI, is very super anime and super colorful. Like people have different colored hair. Like it's very like there's like a cutesy idol person. Like it's very Japanese. And I struggle to think about it as live action a little bit, but it could be done.
Anime could be cool.
Yeah, so I was thinking maybe have it animated. And you could either bring back the voice actors from the game, or you could bring new ones in, give them a new shot, and like see how they would portray the characters in their own way and pay homage to the originals. I think it'd be cool if the studio who does like I mean, they're not Japanese, but actually, no. Oh, you know what? I was originally going to say the people who did the Castlevania anime. I think they do really good stuff. They're not a Japanese studio, but they do really good stuff. However, I just thought of Studio Trigger. Would love if they did this. Ooh. Oh, Trigger would be so good. So, and if no one knows, Trigger did Kill la Kill, Promare, so many. So recently they did Cyberpunk, the Cyberpunk anime.
Edge Runners?
Yeah, it was really good. So they have queer stuff under their belt already. Yes, yeah. So they're I feel like they'd be fun because like they could probably play around a lot with like different animation styles in the Somnium. I also wouldn't mind if Science Saru did it. Science Saru is known kind of for their really whimsical animation. They did Ride Your Wave. They did a really popular one recently. I remember Ride Your Wave because I really liked it. But they've also done like, I think they did like Tatami Galaxy and The Night is Short Walk On Girl, I'm pretty sure. Anyway, they're kind of known for like their animation is a little I don't even know how to describe it. I feel like you just kind of got to watch one of their movies and then you're like, oh, this is cool. This is their style. That's going to bug me. I'm going to look up what they did recently because I know I watched it and I was like, that's so cool that they're doing it. Anyway, but I feel like they would be fun. And in terms of director too, I was actually thinking a bit about you could bring these directors in if it was live action or animated, but I often think back to like the absurdity and like the high energy that like Everything Everywhere All at Once had. So I feel like the directors of that movie would be really good for this, Daniel Kwan and Daniel Scheinert. The two Daniels. So yeah, I think that would be a fun one. Yeah, I feel like that would be a fun little TV series that I would watch.
My only fear about doing this story, because it's like a cop investigating people's mindscapes, there's a big risk of it becoming like CSI, where every episode is like, it's not connected. Every episode is just a procedural like case of the week, which also like with that world's premise would actually be one that would interest me, but also that would go against the entire point of the game, having one overarching murder mystery.
Fair enough.
So
yeah. And I just remembered what the anime was. It was Dun Da Dun. The Dun Da Dun was a hugely popular anime they just did, and that if you've seen Dun Da Dun, that's the kind of animation style I'm thinking of.
That's a good idea. That's good inspiration for sure. Okay, well, we're almost out of time, so I'm going to skip mine, but just for reference, if anyone was wondering, I was going to pick Final Fantasy VII as my last one. I've talked about this idea on the show briefly before. Devona previously said it would be a bad idea. I disagree very strongly. I think Final Fantasy VII is ripe for a 5-season epic storyline on the scale of like Game of Thrones. Nice. I agree. We don't have time to get into that today. But we're going to move on to Queer Game of the Week. Okay, Lloyd, So you've got our queer game of the week this week, and we were originally supposed to be on last time. The last time you were on, you were supposed to talk about this, but we ran out of time. So not to rush you, but I think we have like 5 or so minutes, and you can get your pitch in there for your recommendation for this week.
Yeah. So queer game of the week, Boyfriend Dungeon is it's a tried and true one. It's what is so important to me about Boyfriend Dungeon story is queerness is not a main plot point. It is something that you are, you just are. Your character just is. And at the beginning, you get to pick. I believe you pick your pronouns and you pick your sprite, and you have full control over what outfits you can wear. There's nothing like locked behind perceived gender. And the design of the game, it lends to that being not very program intensive, because you never really see your character unless it's the sprite when you're out there in the dungeons, fighting and either trying to progress the story or to get more resources to level up. But for anyone not familiar, Boyfriend Dungeon is it's set in an urban fantasy world where you have to fight through different levels of a dungeon, and as you go, you find these weapons, these weapons that have dual purpose. They are people, and they are also you can choose to use them in future combat. You improve their abilities or your skill with that weapon by getting to know the people that they are. It's kind of like a lycanthropy situation, except instead of a critter, they are a weapon of some kind. And it's just such a lovely storytelling queer title for me, because it starts off the bat, kind of a random aside. It lets you know that there's content warnings, and I believe it lets you see what they are, which I think is lovely. Transparency is perfect. It's one of those things that if you don't need it, you don't need to look at it, but if you do need it, it's there, and I think we need a lot more of that.
100%.
Yeah. I haven't finished it, so maybe I'm putting my foot in it. Maybe something happens at the end, but I haven't heard one way or the other. But there's so many things about it that just lend to queer gaming and the queer experience in gaming that we just don't get. It's just not readily available. It welcomes poly situations, and it's not only, again, it's not like something that's a really big deal. There is, sorry to be a tiny spoiler, but there is, a character that tries to weaponize it as a negative, but as a general whole in the universe, it is all of the characters that you interact with as you get to know them, if you choose to go on dates with them and you choose to be romantic with them, they all are aware of each other, and so their stories aren't just disjointed. It's you are a person, and your experiences with all of these characters are allowed and welcome. And it's not just a dating sim where you get to, date everybody and, this is it. They have their own disjointed storylines. They all kind of connect in like a very organic, very weighted way. And each of the characters isn't just someone you're dating. They have their own relationship, they have their own, whether or not it's romantic or not, whether or not it's platonic or not, whether or not they also are interested in you. Each character is very individualized, and that's why it's my queer game of the week.
This is being added to my wish list as we speak.
I've seen a bit of it. It looks really good.
I like that you can kind of be yourself, and then at the beginning of the game when you pick, like, clothes aren't gendered, you can just be whoever you want to be, wear whatever you want to wear. I like that kind of freedom where it isn't like set to like pronouns, or like even games that are like very forward thinking like Cyberpunk are still very like binary in terms of like, okay, you're picking the boy but you want to have a vagina, or you're picking the girl and you want to have a penis on your body as well. Like, it's still very like, here's the check boxes you're checking off, whereas it sounds like this game is very much like just you are you, and it has things where you can check off boxes, but it's not like a binary, like, here's how it, I don't know, it just feels a bit more freer to me. Even Pokemon's kind of gone a bit in that direction. Pokemon still has the boxes, like the binary, like boy or girl, but at least all the clothes are no longer gendered. Specifically, I'm pretty sure as of Scarlet and Violet, you can wear whatever you want. I mean, again, the clothes are still school uniforms, so they're not that widely open.
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah, I like that about it. I think that's sometimes, like I said, like when I was playing DDLC, I was very Doki Doki Literature Club. I was very excited to be able to put my name in and be like, oh, it's not gendered, and then finding out that like I'm gonna be him the whole game. I think it's important. Like, and then you also mentioned the content warning too, which is the optional content warning is super important. That like if you obviously there'll be spoilers in it, but if you want to know in advance, like, hey, there's gonna be something in here that you're not gonna like, at least you know it's coming. Because sometimes your comfort is more important than a story spoiler, especially in this day and age. So. All right, well, I think that wraps up our episode. We've gone a bit more over time. I'm not sure if I said it in the episode or just before we talked, but I was like, this is going to be a 90-minute episode, and we are way over that. But I want to thank you both for joining me and for sticking it out. It's been a pleasure having you both back on. I know it's been a while since we've done like a regular episode with just like a few of us regulars on the show the whole way through. I've kind of broken up in chunks based on scheduling. So anyway, thank you both for being here this week, and it's nice to have you back on and hear your voices and see your lovely faces.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. It's been a treat coming back. I appreciate it.
Thanks, True Avatars, for joining me for another episode of your Queer Video Game Podcast. If you've made it this far into the episode, I really appreciate taking the time to support queer-made content. If you want to support the show, it would be really great if you could leave a rating, review, or comment on your preferred podcast platform. I welcome you to check out the website trueavatarspodcast.com, all one word. That's trueavatarspodcast.com. You can also find the show on Blue Sky, Threads, and YouTube under the handle @trueavatars, all one word, and on Instagram under trueavatars. Importantly, if you or anyone you know is queer and involved with video games in some way, please don't be shy. I would love to hear from more queer voices in video games. Your voice is unique and valid and worth sharing with the world. And if you don't want to be on the show or know anyone who's interested, but you know about a cool queer video game or a games industry story that's queer related, please let me know. The show's official email is trueavatars.podcast@gmail.com. That's trueavatars.podcast@gmail.com. You can also feel free to reach out via the website or the aforementioned social media pages. Things are tough out there, and queer people need to stick together when we can. Bye, True Avatars. Thank you so much for listening, and I look forward to speaking with you all again next week. Take care and stay safe.